What's happening, people? Beautiful day, sun is out. What a nice day for Property Diaries. Right, so what's been happening in the world of property? So everybody's talking about rent to social housing. Yeah, if you're in property, it's definitely a hot topic, and there's people selling courses, there's people out there talking about rent to social housing. There's not that many people doing it big, doing it well, let me be honest with you. And you know, I've taken 7 figures of social housing income now, and so we're well versed, you know, we've seen it in what this journey is like, and there's some trials and tribulations. Let me tell you, it's all good and well getting a social housing provider, guaranteeing someone's rent, but you don't know what the long term looks like, right? Social housing providers can change their rent settings like that, and then all of a sudden you're bang in trouble because you are guaranteeing someone's rent, you're relying on that income potentially, and you need to work out how you're going to react to that. So we had a social housing provider that we've been working with for about 8 or 9 months. We built up a reasonable sized business, a pretty big business actually. And out of nowhere, they just messaged us and sent an email saying, you're not approved on our system. There's a whole load of checks they do. They do that at the beginning of when you start to work with them, right? So the beginning of your contract. We've done everything, we've submitted all of the things we need to submit, and then they started working with you. So the housing department is a different department to the procurement department. And all of a sudden they're like, well, we can't work with you for these reasons. I'm not going to get into the details, but that can happen. So imagine that you've taken on properties for this social housing provider, guaranteed rent. I'm talking big numbers, 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, and all of a sudden they're like, no, sorry, we can't work with you. Out of nowhere. That is enough to make someone go under, right? That is mad. So you got to think about these things. How did we deal with it? Well, for a while, I just sat on it. And that sounds like a strange thing to do, right? But I knew properties were occupied. They couldn't just empty those properties on day 2 after saying that. We weren't getting any new properties away. And so we went back and forth a little bit, you know, gently trying to work out what the issue was, trying to maneuver, and this went on for about 2-3 months, and it was stressful. I remember when I was getting the news, I was sat at the breakfast bar with my kids, and honestly it felt like I couldn't breathe for a second, because I knew that this could have a real big detrimental impact to what we're trying to do here, what we were trying to achieve. You know, at the end of the day, I've got responsibilities. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I've got people that rely on me, and I've gone out, I'm taking these risks, and that's what property is. So you got to know what you're getting into. You've got to understand that this is a risky game. So anyway, we sat on this decision for a little while, and then time went, and I was kind of like, fine, let's just continue to let the properties out that they've currently got. They've said they're not going to take any more, and we'll work it through. So it came to a crescendo not long ago where all of a sudden they started handing properties back, and quite a few came at once. So this is when they're moving the social housing tenant on to something new, right? So it wasn't because of the fact that there was an issue working with our business, but that issue meant we couldn't just simply replace another tenant. At exactly the same time, they've completely reduced their rents as well. So we're being hit twice now, double whammy. The rates that we agreed were higher, they've renegotiated them, they're lower. And a lot of the time with these social housing providers, it's take it or leave it. That's just how they operate. So you've got to be aware of these things. Luckily, we've managed to navigate it. We've produced the documents, produced the information that they need, and actually it turned out at their end there wasn't really a thorough review. And that's the other thing, you know, you've got people who, this is their day job, this is not their livelihood, and they don't understand sometimes the magnitude of the decisions that are being made. And you know, Vaheguru, thank God, we're back on board, and actually what it's done is shored up our position over the next couple of years. So we are ready to go. But a lot of people, they haven't been through a full cycle with social housing. They haven't been through handing over property, what happens a year later, what happens 18 months later when they're handing it back, when there's an issue, when there's a change of rents, when there's budget cuts, budget restraints, all of these things. People don't know how to navigate it. And there's a lot of people out there guaranteeing rent, and I think they're gonna be in a lot of trouble down the line, because this is not a stable market. Things are moving. People have made their money in social housing, in that space, especially where I'm from, especially in West London, in the last 20 years, where market was stable, right? Interest rates are at 1%, housing was very steady, very secure, and in that time, not a lot changed. We're in a time where things are changing all the time. But you know what? I'm thankful for that, because this is the time when you learn the most. So that was a big drama. Luckily it's sorted. See you next time.